Okay, so we just talked about deaths, and that is a little bit depressing and sad. Now let's just talk about costs and how the costs of different natural disasters might be covered. Just looking at this image, can you figure out what might be some natural hazards in this area? Where do you think those big boulders came from? Probably that cliff up there, right? Do you think that more boulders might fall at some point? Would you buy this house? Your willingness to do so might depend upon how comfortable you are with the risk of another boulder falling. We're going to talk about the cost of natural disasters and risk in this mini lecture. What freedom should individuals have to choose where they want to live? What do you think? Should individuals be able to build in places where those hazards might be present? Take the poll. Come back later to show the poll again so you can see what it looks like as more people take it. So yeah, in 2013, some more boulders did fall off that cliff, and this was the result. Hopefully the owner wasn't home and also maybe had some sort of insurance that would cover this type of a disaster. Could we have predicted something like this happening? Predicting risk, predicting catastrophe can be challenging to do. If the owner had insurance to cover this, then the insurance would be based on how likely that event was to occur. When we know how frequently an event might occur and how much damage it might do, we can estimate how much the costs might be. For example, I live in Normal, and we actually have the option of purchasing earthquake insurance for our house. This doesn't seem like a very earthquake prone area, but apparently it is still possible for us to have earthquakes, probably very rare, and they probably wouldn't be very large. For those reasons, we decided not to purchase earthquake insurance for our house because we think that the probability of that happening and causing extensive damage is very low. Car insurance is kind of a great example of how we predict and assess risk. If you look at the insurance rate for 19-year-olds, you can see that a man would be paying about $600 more than a woman would be paying. And why do you think that is the case? You might have made the prediction that men are more likely to take risks, to drive faster, make riskier decisions, like driving in bad weather, than women are to. Thus, on average, a man is more likely to do more damage to a vehicle than a woman, and the insurance rate reflects this. We buy insurance so that we can recoup the costs of a disaster. And it turns out that natural disasters are very expensive. This graph shows the costs of billion-dollar disasters from 1980 to 2019. And this is only in the United States of America. And these are only disasters that cost over $1 billion. The cumulative cost of these is $1.75 trillion. And it's hard to even imagine what that number means. You can see from the color coding that severe storms in the orangey color make up most of the costs of natural disasters, especially in the recent decades. The category of tropical cyclones includes hurricanes and storms, and that also makes up an increasingly large proportion of the disaster costs in recent decades. So given how expensive all these disasters are and how much money is being caused in damage, how well are we doing at actually insuring ourselves from the risk of all these natural disasters occurring? It turns out that we are not doing a very good job of this. So if you walk through this graph, which is figure 1.4 in your textbook, you can see that the green bars are the losses that were actually covered by insurance, and the light green bars are the losses that were not covered by insurance. There's a couple of different things you can figure out from this graph. You can definitely tell that in most years, more losses aren't covered than are covered. The red line shows the average, long-term average number of losses, and this line is much higher than the covered losses, which is the blue line, the losses that are insured. Basically, the take-home message here is that when a natural disaster occurs, odds are that the costs won't be covered by insurance. So given that natural disasters are very expensive and that the costs of these natural disasters aren't often fully covered by insurance, should the government be prepared to help cover those costs?